All right, joined by Justin Leonard, 12-time PGA Tour winner, and here we are on the PGA Tour Champions, and you've been knocking on the door. Second at Pebble Beach, played well in the AmFam earlier in the summer. What's it been like for you out here?
It's been fun. I really kind of put my clubs away for a few years and worked for NBC and Golf Channel, and which I enjoyed a lot. And now getting back into just focusing on one person's game versus 156 guys. So it's been fun. It's a lot of work. It's these guys out here. Although it's a kind of a lower key atmosphere and vibe and everything. It's still pretty highly competitive, and guys love to win as I do, and so putting a lot of work in. But it's been fun. At times I've fallen into a couple of former habits that I had thought I had kind of put away, but kind of I think I'm recognizing those things more, and maybe my work as being an analyst helps me at times to kind of think about my own game.
Well, I was going to say, speaking of that work, when you see John Rahm and you see some of these guys win U.S. Opens and win big events, how does that affect your game and how aggressive you want to be, or how much different you might want to play?
Yeah, I think the strategy, watching the best players in the world on the PGA Tour, everything's about pushing the ball up there as far as you can and being very aggressive, especially off the tee. And so I think that's something that I've tried to incorporate at times into my game. I still find myself hitting, some 3 woods and 5 woods, and even this week, a couple shorter clubs than that. But that's just because certain things don't suit my eye. But I mean, as far as par fives and stuff, trying to be more aggressive and push the ball up by the green if I can't get there. All of those things I've gotten more and more comfortable with as I've played tournament golf this year.
Interesting. And you also, as I think about TV work, while you're doing TV work last year at Brookline, you had a chance to go on that famous 17th green. Mm-hmm. And weren't you doing some research there? Scotty Scheffler may have given you his putter, and explain that story there.
Yeah, so our producer Tommy Roy asked me, when I was going to be walking the back nine, and it was Wednesday afternoon or Wednesday morning actually, and he said, well, shoot me a text when you're nearby. I want to send a camera crew over there and just see what the reception's like, that kind of thing. So I've kind of got my nose in the book. I'd been following around Scotty and Justin Thomas for a few holes, and my instructor Randy Smith was following Scotty and everything. So kind of got my nose in my book as I'm walking up on the green, and I get up to the front edge, and they're all kind of standing on the front, and Scotty hands me his putter, and Justin throws a ball down, and Bones is on the back of the green and throws down a little rubber cup where about where the hole was, and he's like, show us the putt. So that was fun. And then I think I did something else later in the day with Sky Sports there on 17. So fun to be back. I haven't actually been back to the country club since '99. So actually, no, I'm sorry. I did one time back in like '02 or '03 just for a day to shoot some stuff. But it was fun being back on the grounds, walking the golf course again, and the routing changed a little bit from when we played it in '99 to the U.S. Open last year, and it's grown quite a bit too. They've added a few back tees and things like that, but it was certainly fun to get back there.
Well, a big '99 Ryder Cup moment for you. What else sticks out about just the camaraderie and the just the great memories of the Ryder Cup when you look back?
It is. It's great memories. The practice rounds, getting to know your peers better. Even though you're around each other a lot week to week, playing golf tournaments and things like that. It's very intensive, much intensified at the Ryder Cup. So getting to know players better, their families and their wives and things like that. I've always enjoyed that part of it. And, the banter that goes on in the practice rounds, it's a lot of fun, and the dinners and things. It's always a good, whether you win or lose, it's a great week. Obviously, it's a little better if you win. But even being in a losing effort, it's still a great week just because you're, trying to come together and accomplish something as a team.
Right. Well, and as a team, you got to see the different teams there as you did TV earlier this month, or I should say in September. What was that like? What was your kind of takeaway from the U.S. coming up short again against Europe here?
Yeah, it was. I thought the golf course was set up very similar to how it was in Paris 4 years prior. Narrow fairways, very deep rough. They wanted the golf course difficult and to kind of make you play from the fairway and in the U.S., especially on the PGA Tour, you know, whether you're in the rough or not, it doesn't make a huge difference week to week. The goal is just to get it down there as far as you can. So, the Europeans tend to have a setup similar to that when we go over there and play. And they're also had the benefit of the Italian Open is there, which I know not every player plays that event, but quite a few do from the European side. And they were all playing really well. I mean, I think 7 or 8 of them finished top 10 at the BMW just a couple weeks before. Wentworth, a very good golf course. And it looked like, the majority of our guys hadn't played in a while. And I know after a long season, like you do want some downtime and things like that. But it just looked like the U.S. side, the games weren't as sharp, as certainly not as much as the Europeans were.
Definitely, yeah. I thought the same thing. And, when we think about coming up, what's ahead in the schedule, and I think about Troon, we're going back to the Open Championship where you won in '97. What is your thoughts of Troon as an open course, and what comes to mind when you think of that Open?
Well, I love Troon for personal reasons. I think it's a really fun golf course to play. Playing out and typically your typical wins, it's a little pretty, not easy, but much easier going out than it is coming back. I've got great memories there. I remember, shots I hit on Sunday and throughout the week when I'm there. So I haven't played an Open since 16, since it was at Troon, but I'm planning on playing next year. Which will be a lot of fun, and take my family over because my wife has seen it, but my kids haven't. So that'll be fun to kind of share and experience that with them. It's a great links layout. There's not a lot of drivers on the well, that may change now that the whole strategy thing. But there's certainly not as many drivers on the way out. And then when you turn coming back in. The golf course is very demanding, and you've got to be extremely precise. And the two, you think of the 8th, the postage stamp, and then the 11th, 2 holes that can just really put fear into you. So it's a fun golf course. It's always fun to play in an Open Championship, but for me personally, there's nothing better than playing at Troon.
Do you prefer it in worse weather or better weather, or does it matter?
I prefer it in mediocre weather. The weather was really good when I won in '97. It was a little windy the first day, but then the last 3 days were nice. I don't think anybody really likes playing in rain and wind and all that. I don't mind a bit of wind, but I also wouldn't mind playing in short sleeves and having the sun out for a bit too.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned that your family's going to come out, all 4 kids and your wife, I assume.
Yeah, that's the plan right now. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think about, you had mentioned on Claude Harmon's podcast that you love that they can see Dad work, that hard work leads to things. They can see that now as you're back to the grind and playing. How special is that to be able to kind of show them what hard work is, basically?
Yeah, it's hard when I was doing television for them to really see what I was doing other than the time I was on the air, and they would watch here and there, but it's a lot of work, but most of it is that week. Yes, I do some reading and things like that on my weeks off to kind of keep up with things, but most of the work happened when I was at the tournament for those 6 or 7 days, and my time off, my weeks were at home, I had a lot of free time, and which was great and fun, and I got to see a lot of lacrosse and soccer games and volleyball and all that. But now they're seeing me put the hours in and getting up early and getting in the gym and the time at the golf course and things like that. And so I think I'm happy that they're able to see how hard I am working, because our kids, I hope they model the good things that I do and not some of the other things. But it seems to have worked because our kids are, they're hard workers. They work hard in school and their sports and things like that. But nothing's for nothing. I mean, with to achieve something you want to, a lot of time there comes sacrifice, and maybe it's time with friends or those kind of things where you've got to kind of buckle down and say it's probably not the best thing for me right now. So I didn't have to do that for a few years. I'm certainly doing that now, but I'm still getting to enough, lacrosse games and some golf matches that, it's a lot of fun to watch my kids. I love watching them, and now with two girls in college, parents' weekends and sorority formals and those things. So, we happen to stay pretty busy in the Leonard household.
Well, you mentioned that Luke, your youngest, had picked up golf during COVID. How much has golf been a part of him playing just recently, this last couple years?
It's had a kind of an influence on me in my playing. When he started playing, I was think I was around 48 or turning 48, and I thought, well, I should probably get some clubs. I mean, the clubs I had, were fairly old, and so that's when I started to get into it. And he loves, playing on the high school golf team, loves working at it. He's not our youngest. Our youngest is Sky in 8th grade, and he played a little bit when we lived in Colorado, but he's kind of gone away from it. Now he plays a lot of lacrosse. And so actually we travel a decent bit to watch him play. He's got a tournament, a couple of tournaments this fall where, we're getting on an airplane to go. So it's fun. It's very high level lacrosse. And, some of the things that I learned about putting the work in and all those things, I try and give him a little bit of information. But I don't know very much about lacrosse. So he's on his own there. He's got to listen to his coaches.
That's great, man. And just wrapping up the Ryder Cup, if you were to ever get a chance to be asked, I know you've been asked in the past about assistant captains or vice captaincy, but if you were to be asked to be the captain of the U.S. team, how would you respond to it, and what kind of honor would that be?
I would do it, whether a vice captain or the captain. I think that when I was asked, personally, it didn't feel like the right time for me and what was going on in my life and golf and those things. And I think, now I would certainly welcome the opportunity to, to help in whatever way that was possible, whether it's being a vice captain or captain. So, my phone's on. So, but it's, the guys in the room, I'm sure they have, plans and I'd love to be a part of that at some point.
Great. Well, Justin Leonard, thanks again for your time, and appreciate it, and good luck the rest of the way with the rest of the PGA Tour Champion season.
Thanks, Garrett. Appreciate it.